Back when I first reviewed the Ryzen 7 9800X 3D, I contributed to all the hoo-ha around that product, showing it to be on average 11% faster for gaming when compared to the 7800X 3D, 27% faster than the Core i9 14900K, 33% faster than the Core Ultra 9 285K, 39% faster than the much-loved 5800X 3D, and 41% faster than the Core i9 12900K. But that was all at 1080p. And I've since learnt that that's not how these CPUs should be tested. Now look, I have to admit, I did initially push back against the criticism. It was difficult to admit that we'd misled our audience into thinking they needed the 9800X 3D for the ultimate gaming experience. Because after all, most of you are playing at resolutions greater than 1080p, which explains why so many viewers were up in arms about the lack of 4K benchmarking. So after making multiple videos defending our choice for low resolution CPU testing, I'm finally willing to admit that I was wrong. And you know, better late than never, right? So today we're re-evaluating the gaming performance of the 9800X 3D at 4K, the way it is meant to be benchmarked. And no, I'm not talking about 4K with upscaling. I've already made that mistake, and boy was it not well received. So I'm relieved to inform you that we are testing at native 4K, none of that fake resolution trickery nonsense, true 4K, all of the pixels. So then, let's get into all the glorious blue bar graphs, shall we? Starting with Marvel Rivals, we see that the RTX 5090 is good for 105 FPS at 4K, and that means the 9800X 3D is just 4% faster than the 5800X 3D, or 11% faster if we look at those 1% lows. But also, that meant the 9800X 3D was a mere 1.5% faster than processors such as the 14900K and 7800X 3D, so pretty unimpressive results then from the new Zen 5 based 3D V-Cache processor. The performance gains in Black Myth Wukong at 4K with ray tracing enabled are even less impressive. Here all CPUs allowed for just 34 FPS with the same 25 FPS 1% lows. So you might as well just buy the 7600X for console-like gaming. It's the same story in Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. The 9800X 3D is no faster than the 7600X or 5800X 3D at 4K, so real-world testing shows no performance gains. Now in Assetto Corsa EVO, we're looking at well over 100 FPS, and yet the 9800X 3D is again no faster than the 7600X and 5800X 3D. And I doubt anyone wants to play a video game like this at more than 120 FPS. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is also limited to just 100 FPS at native 4K using the very high quality ray tracing settings, and again the 9800X 3D offers nothing here. So I guess you could just get the 7600X or possibly an even slower / cheaper CPU and spend the money you save on some RGB goodness. Balin says that's what he'd do anyway. Starfield does max out the 5800X 3D, but even so the 9800X 3D was just 8% faster on average, so nothing like the 39% average seen in our previous misleading 1080p testing. We all know Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty plays best at sub 60 FPS frame rates, so again the 9800X 3D isn't required here, as the RTX 5090 is only good for 50 FPS on average when using the Ultra RT preset, and at this level of performance can be unlocked with a 7600X. The lower the frame rate the better in Alan Wake 2, as this allows for that cinematic feel, so 33 FPS on average is great, and it means the 7600X is as good as the 9800X 3D. Avatar though will create some head spins at almost 90 FPS, and you can unlock this extreme level of performance with even the 7600X and 5800X 3D. So again, yet another example where the 9800X 3D is unnecessary, useless even. Now, despite playing at 4K with the GPU limited RT settings enabled, Hogwarts Legacy is still pretty hard on the 285K. I'm not sure why the Core Ultra 9 processor is so bad here, but after multiple retests using both Windows 11 23H2 and 24H2, these are the best results I received, and it saw the 9800X 3D offering a 15% performance boost, though it could only match the 7800X 3D, so still a bit useless there. Stalker 2 also doesn't require a 9800X3D. You can render 74 FPS with a 285K, 14900K, or 7800X3D. So whichever one of those you think has the coolest looking retail packaging, probably just get that. Star Wars Outlaws is another game that's mostly GPU limited in our testing, and therefore the 9800X3D isn't nearly as good as we first thought, delivering similar performance to all other CPUs tested. Finally, we have Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, and here the 9800X3D allowed for 84 FPS, which is the same performance seen from the 7800X3D, and this made it up to 5% faster than the 7600X and 5800X3D. So there we go. Under real-world test conditions, using a GPU most people are realistically going to buy, because it's the best, the 9800X3D is just 3% faster on average than the 7600X or 5800X3D, so that's pretty disappointing stuff. What this tells us though, what we've learned here, what we can glean from these results that we wouldn't have known otherwise, is that if you want a game at around 60 FPS, the CPU doesn't really matter too much, and the 9800X3D isn't as good as all those reviews told you. And worse still, you might have actually wasted your money if you bought the 9800X3D, so let's go look at the cost per frame data to confirm if that's true or not. Well, in terms of value, the 9800X3D, it's not very good. It's 55% more expensive per frame than the 7600X, so just get the Ryzen 5 processor. The 7600X really is the ultimate gaming CPU. Similar performance to the 9800X3D, 7800X3D, 14900K and 285K, but it's loads cheaper. And that's why, at the end of 2024, we named it as the best budget CPU for new system builds. So we were at least right about that, but maybe we should have said the best gaming CPU, period. So there you have it. The 9800X3D is far too expensive for what it is, and under real-world 4K gaming conditions, it is no faster than previous generation CPUs. It's almost like if you're GPU limited, CPU performance doesn't really matter. And I'm glad it's now on me to determine just how GPU limited your GPU limited gaming should be, and I've decided as GPU limited as possible. So with that, I'm going to end the video. I'm your host, Steve. See you again next time.